All right, all right. Alonzo, good to see you, my brother.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Let's get it going.
All right. So, in case you don't know what that music means, I know many of you do. Mike is out of the house. Alonzo and I are here on our own to have some fun. So we are going to jam out, have some fun, have a great conversation, and talk about branding. So let's get started with this. Um, my name is Chris Johnson. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Go Cloud Careers. I'm joined by Alonzo Coleman, our Chief Marketing Officer at Go Cloud Careers, and we're here on Head in the Clouds today to talk about branding. Head in the Clouds is where we come. It's the one time during the week where we get to unwind and have fun. Actually, that's not true. We're always having fun. But it's the one time where we get to try and not be serious all the time. So, as the Joker says, why so serious? But
Right.
let's get into this. So tonight, like I said, we're going to be talking about branding, and most importantly, we're going to be talking about how to build your personal brand and your professional brand. We're going to be talking about personal branding tips and professional branding tips. We're going to talk about what is your personal brand? Why is your personal brand important? We're going to share personal branding strategies. We're going to talk about how to brand yourself. Anything and everything that you would want to know about personal branding in 2023, or any time for that matter. You know, if you want to know how to use personal branding on social media, if you want to know how to use personal branding in LinkedIn, anything and everything that I mentioned branding, that's what we're talking about tonight. So I hope y'all are ready for a good show, a good conversation. If you are ready, let us know you're ready by telling us where you are from in the chat box. So, Alonzo, do you want to tell me? I've got a few things to tell everybody about, but I want to go ahead and start. Before I tell them about some of these things, I want to ask Alonzo, why are you talking to us about branding, Alonzo?
Oh man, why shouldn't we talk about branding? Branding, and before we even get into it, branding is so important. It is so pivotal to people's professional and personal, that is synonymous, and we really need to. We're going to start getting into the definitions of that. So it goes part and parcel. Whether you are cloud, even though our space is cloud computing, cloud architecture, and the different titles that go with that, it goes way beyond that across any sphere of industry, across any career, and you're focusing, and that's why your focus should be that. So. Why are you the person talking with about branding? That's me. So the reason being is I've got a lot of experience. My whole career, or rather most of it, before I became a cloud architect and chief marketing officer for Go Cloud Careers, that was my focus. I have got quite extensive amount. I would say probably about 32 years of experience when it comes to
At least you
marketing.
said it this time, and not me. Normally, I'm the one that says it, and I always feel bad about saying how long you've been.
Yeah, I started the game early. Before I even became a professional, my focus was on marketing. I helped a lot of people with their marketing brands, with their visuals, their verbals, their written communication on what they wanted their brand to look like. How were they representing themselves to the world? And so that's how I got my chops doing that in corporate arenas, ad agencies, startup companies, Fortune 500 organizations, and so forth, that have catapulted me across that time and space into a lot of great opportunities. And then when I felt like it was time for me to move on, that's when I put it down and started jumping in the cloud architectural space. So I was able to incorporate what I know into my future, which is cloud architecture, and how you're going to, as you aspirants and you existing professionals, how are you going to transition who your current brand is into becoming a cloud architect as well?
All right. So that's why Alonzo is the one talking with us about branding. He's got the experience with branding, both from a company standpoint and an individual standpoint. So before we get deeper into this conversation, I want to let everybody know of a few things. So we've got plenty of free resources for you here at Go Cloud Careers. First, I want to let you know about our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job Guide, completely free resource that you can get at the link in our description or in our chat box. Tyrone will be putting that over there in the chat box. Again, it's a completely free resource based on years and decades of experience about how to get your first cloud architect job. Again, it's maybe not cloud architect, maybe solution architect. Same principles and same information will apply to you here. Completely free resource for you in the chat box and in the description. Also, if you want to know how to win the interview, get the free resource or winning the interview guide.
So valuable.
Also available to you. These are just 2 of them. But I don't want to overwhelm you. We've got at least 6 or 7 of these guides out there, but I'm not going to tell you about all 6 or 7 of them. I only want to tell you about 2 of them right now. Maybe I'll tell you about the others later. But these are 2 of our most important resources that we have available for you. And Tyrone's got the link to both of those over there in the chat box. Why am I focusing on these 2 right now? Because if you want to know how to become something, you need to learn from people that have done it successfully. And that's what that How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job Guide is about. Then the interview guide. What so many people do is they spend so much time, effort, and energy and money on preparing for a certain job with certain training and certain skills and certain coaching. And then they invest nothing in the interview. Absolutely nothing. I can't tell you how many people I have seen they just literally they wing it. They tell me they wing it. Like no preparation for an interview, let alone any resume preparation. Now we're starting to see more people spend more time on resumes, which is good, but that can be scary because there's a lot of bad information out there about resumes. But people are still not spending time preparing for the interview. I'm not kidding when I tell you that a good interview can net you tens of thousands of dollars more on your middle tier jobs and possibly up to $100,000 or more on the higher end jobs on a salary offer after your interview. Good interviews alone can have that much difference. And that's why we have an interview guide out there. That's why we have interview training out there, just like we have our architect training. So get those free resources. If you don't do anything else, just get those free resources. They're completely free to you. So I'm off my soapbox. Moving on to the next topic. So we're going to have a good conversation here. If you've got any questions for us about branding, make sure to put it down in the chat box.
Please do.
We will answer your questions about branding. We love to talk about branding. So if you've got any questions, we'll answer them as we're able to. But Alonzo, if you will, start us off. I'm going to put you up here on the big screen too. If you will, start us off. The big question of the day: what is branding?
That is the question, right, Chris? What is branding? What is this name? What is this about branding? So we talk about our students internally. Branding is what others say about you when you're not there, before you get there, after you get there. The speculation, what you put out there. Branding is also what you enforce within your community. What do you continually do? How do you continually do it, whether it's personal or whether it's professional? And how are you cultivating a specific image or impression in the minds of others? So if you are a hard worker at work, you're the go-to to get things done. If you have a specialty, if you are a specialty networking guru, a security guru, or your focus is on containerization and how it works within a cloud environment, you are that go-to person because you have set that tone. You have set that expectation that every time when someone brings this to you, you're able to solve it. You're able to give more than what they expect, and you do it consistently. That is how you build your brand. So understanding that branding is more than a symbol that you put on cattle. It is what you share with others. It is what you project: confidence, skill set, positivity, the ability to leave people better than when you found them, better than when you encountered them, giving them a kind word. And it's also important that as an executive, if you're able to talk to the janitor, the people down at the cafeteria of the organizational building, the Uber driver who gave you your Starbucks coffee or whatever, provide them with the same type of communication, respect that you would with someone who is running a multi-billion-dollar business. That's consistency. That is the expectation. And that is why people would be more inclined to share more details with you because of who you are and your branding than someone that they know nothing about.
I like what you said there, Alonzo, a lot. And before I move on, FYI, everybody, Alonzo gave me 3 pages of questions in preparation for this. So we're in for a long night. And this is single space, 8-point font, I swear. But yeah.
I'm not going to get buzzed, though. I refuse to get buzzed, so I'm going to keep it under the radar.
I think that's why you gave me 3 pages of question. You're like, all right, I'm going to give 15 seconds of question.
I got to
come up with 3 pages of question. So, all right. So, but there's something you said there, and I want to tie in. For those of you may be familiar, there's a gentleman named Angelo that usually steps into our chat box. He's actually a part of the Go Cloud Careers family. And Angelo is here. Okay, Angelo is here. Hey, okay, Angelo, you made it. I was about to use one of your questions.
Angelo,
you finished your meeting early. Great. Glad to see you here.
Angelo, will you accept my friend request on LinkedIn, please?
Are they connections?
I know you're a rock star. Can I get behind the velvet rope, please?
Are they connections or friend requests? Come on now. All right. So, Angelo, I was about to use one of your questions, but if you would you copy and paste the 3rd bullet point that you sent to me into the chat box? And I will use that. So, but there was something that you said there that I thought was hilarious. That branding is more than just something you put on a cow. That was great. That was great. So when Angela puts that puts that comment about opinions of others in the chat box there, I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's important.
It goes right into what Alonzo was just talking about. So while we wait for that to come in, can you talk about? So when we hear brand, the first thing that comes to mind is companies.
Yes.
With most people. So talk about brands from a company's perspective for just a few minutes. Just what is a brand for a company? Because I'm going to find ways to tie all this back into us by the end of the show. So
yeah, a brand. You think about that. I can name dozens of them because I've had a chance to work for them. I've had a chance to do commercials, even design characters for them for these companies. You can name off McDonald's. You can name off Nike, Tesla, Google. You can name off so many others, and you automatically, what pops in your head? Their logos, their taglines. I'm loving it. Just do it. You're thinking about all these wonderful ways, and it's more than just the visual; it's the experience. Mm-hmm. Say, for instance, with Apple. Not only do you have a chance to see
works.
Yeah, it's more than that. And even say, for instance, you can experience Apple by going into one of their stores at the local mall. You can experience their commercials. You can experience, if anyone has an iPhone, a Apple laptop, the experience is opening up the packaging, which is far unique than anything that you ever see. That's an experience. That's branding. That's a part of it. You see the Apple. When you think about wisdom and taking a bite out of wisdom, what is wisdom representative of? An apple. And you think about how you can equate a lot of these time memorial symbols and how you're able to incorporate and use that as leverage for your branding. And it's far more than like you said, it's far more than just a visual. So you think about that tagline, how Apple or any of these organizations are projecting what they are onto the public. And then even if you don't have, I have a lot of Apple contrarians. They subscribe to Android, and they are strong proponents of that for whatever reason. But one thing that they can say is that the packaging is awesome. The ergonomics of a Apple product is phenomenal. You get a great experience with what it looks like, although their operating systems maybe not what they're looking for, but what they put out there and how they make people feel. I got the newest Apple iPhone. I've got the newest Apple Watch. I've got this, I've got that. It creates that brand. Not only is it a status, you're the first one on the block to get it, but it also creates that level of competency, that level of you being top of the food chain when it comes to technology from that operating system. And so you think about all these different facets of how branding materializes for that organization. That's how you equate it. And I seriously doubt with Apple, there's not one place on this earth with a cell phone tower where there's not an Apple Watch. It could be, of course, it's here. It's on the western, eastern, southern hemisphere. It's everywhere. So there's, unless you have been in cryogenic stasis for the last 20, 30 years, people know these brands. People know McDonald's. They're everywhere. The golden.
I'm gonna buzz you. I'm gonna buzz you.
All right. Okay. I've been threatened. I gotta keep it tight. Okay.
So the thing about it is, all this would be worthless if they didn't back it up.
Yes.
If they didn't have quality products, if they didn't have quality service, if they didn't just fix it, fix it or replace it. Like, I mean, I don't know about every single transaction and every single interaction with every single person, but on the whole, it's pretty much just like no questions asked. Okay, show me what's wrong. Okay, all right, we'll take care of it. And if we can't take care of it, we'll tell you how to fix. Like, here's your options. Like,
yes,
boom. Like, there's so many. I was about to say there's so many companies. Just think about any airline industry, any airline company, any. It's not like that.
No, it is not. So,
no. They don't.
I can rattle off.
Imagine if a company, if any airline company came out and did the no nonsense stuff, like, okay, fine, we'll fix it. Like, just done, no questions asked. Imagine the brand that they would have overnight. So what I'm getting at is like all the things that you just talked about. Yes, that's the brand, but that's just the wrapping paper.
Right.
The brand is the substance behind all that.
Right.
And you kept talking about Apple, but think about Samsung. Think about Samsung 20 years ago.
Oh man, did you
think about Samsung now?
Yeah.
They have done some amazing, like they have had an amazing transformation. I'm not saying they had a bad reputation or a bad brand or but it was just clunky. It was just like any other technology company.
Yeah.
Just like any other technology company. But now they give Apple a run for their money.
Yeah, they do.
It's sleek, it's elegant, the packaging is there, the experience is there.
Yeah.
The quality is there. The service, when you're dealing with Samsung, the service is there. Now, I don't know about anybody like phone carrier, just like with even if you got Apple and you got to deal with the phone carrier.
Right.
Yeah. But so I just wanted to talk about that for a second, that all these things that make up the outward part of the brand are worthless if you don't have the substance to back it up. So Angelo put this question that I asked him in here because I want to tie it back to something that Alonzo was saying. I forget. He's like, I forgot exactly what you said, but you and we talk about this all the time. Oh, dang. No. There we go. So Angelo says, when building a brand, what's the right balance between ignoring others' opinions of me and placing value on what others perceive of me? Does one have more weight in personal versus business life? So I want to start this one off, Alonzo.
Okay.
Because the end of that, personal and business life,
mm-hmm.
Our brand should be singular.
Yeah, I totally agree.
We should have a singular brand. If
Yeah.
I'm trustworthy, I'm trustworthy across the board.
Period.
If I'm a go-getter, if I work hard at work, and I work hard for my family. I get up at 4:00 in the morning and make sure that I get everything done at the house and at work. You know, if I have to, like that's what it is.
Yep.
So I don't want us to try and segment too much. Like I'm building my brand professionally, I'm building my brand personally.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why I said these together earlier in the keywords. And I know when I was talking about the key topics that we were going to be discussing tonight, and I know Angela probably wasn't here, but I was talking about personal brand and professional brand. Boom, boom, like as synonyms. Because if you try to differentiate between the two, you're gonna become two-faced, and you're gonna have some crazy stuff behind it, like Harvey Dent. I'm on the Batman role tonight, apparently. With Joker and Harvey Dent.
I've noticed that.
Anyway, but aside from that, there's a distinction between perception and brand. So yes, a brand is based on perception, but it's based on others' perceptions of you.
Mm-hmm.
Your perception of yourself is just that. That's how you see yourself. There's no value to the outside world of how you see yourself. I'm not saying it's important. It's not important how you see yourself. Yes, it is important, but you have to take into consideration how others see you. And you need to get as closely, and this is my opinion, you need to get as closely aligned as possible how you see yourself and how others see yourself.
Yeah.
Because both are reality. There's a reason that others have a particular perception of you and have placed a particular value on their perception of you. There's reasons behind it. So what are those reasons? All of that ties into your brand.
Yep.
That you put out to the world. So you have to figure out, and that's why in our program, that's why we have peer assessments, self-assessments, skills assessments. And that's why we just doubled the amount of those that you do in the program. Because previously it was only one set of those. Now we make you do them twice. One here and one here later on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's important that you know how other people see you. Now, you don't need to make all decisions solely based on that. But it does need to be a combination. So what's the right balance between them? I don't know. It truly depends on how far away is your perception of what you are and what other people perceive you to be. How far apart are they? That's gonna determine the answer to that question. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, Alonzo.
Yeah, consistency, personal and private. There are no differentiators. You have to do one along with the other. Say, for instance, you're known for being a staunch person in the community. You're personable, but you drive. You're very critical of others. You're very you create divisions at work. So when people who understand you from your personal life can't reconcile what you do at work, people get confused. People don't understand who you are. You know, it's are you Jekyll and Hyde, and how are those variations going to affect you? Because sooner or later, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, your personal life will interconnect with your professional life. You may have an event where you have to bring your mate, your significant other, to this particular event. You might have community service efforts or more of a public position for your organization, and you're representing it that way. And maybe some personal people may be introduced to your professional. How are you going to reconcile that? How are you going to be able to showcase what you do on social media, and how is that going to come into play with your professional life? Can what you share on social media, TikTok, Instagram, could you do the same thing with your manager, with your CEO? If not, then there may be some discrepancies in how you handle yourself and what you project in the world. So you have to, and then let's talk about when building a brand, what's the right balance between ignoring others' opinions about me and placing values of others on what others perceive of me. It's not what they call you. It's what you answer to. It's how your responses echo what are they in sync with what you're doing? You need to go change your brand, which takes time. Or if it's not consistent with that and it's more in lines with what other people perceive of me, follow on to the positive. Okay. You have to focus on how that perception is leveraging your brand or destroying it. You ignore what's hurting your brand and you focus on and emphasize what's helping your brand, because consistency is key. And if you're not following through with that, people are going to go with their opinion over the perception. What about you, Chris?
Well, let's clear something up. Don't ignore what's hurting your brand.
Right, of course. No.
You just you repair it, you fix it, but
right.
you
crisis plan or so forth. Yeah.
Right. You work on that, but you spend most of your time on what's helping your brand.
Right.
And you do have to allocate some time to fixing those things that are hurting your brand. But there's something that you mentioned there about time. So a lot of, like I said, we talk about brand a lot in our programs and in our community. But one of the biggest things about brands is that this is not something that happens overnight.
No.
You don't build a brand overnight. You don't build a brand over a few weeks. You don't even build a brand over a few months. Mm-hmm. A brand is something that takes time, and it's accumulation of everything, especially in today's age when so many people, like you and I, have the benefit of half of our life or more isn't recorded. Like, you know,
God, yeah.
But there are adults whose entire lives have been recorded on the internet, every aspect of it. So your brand is an accumulation of everything. And so let's think about that, about the time factor of building a brand, repairing a brand, changing a brand. This isn't something that happens overnight.
No.
I
think, Chris, it's likened to a sandcastle, a house of cards. What you have to painstakingly apply that. Sandcastles at a beach. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes thought. It takes execution, and you have to strategize how you're laying your brand down so that the waves of inconsistency, the waves of crisis, or how you mitigate your brand when something goes wrong, it could be destroyed in seconds. So you have to protect your privacy. You have to manage your reputation. You have to do it through consistency. You have to engage that brand and apply it both professionally and privately in front of others, so that every time people see you, hear you, see something that you've posted on LinkedIn, it's consistent. And if it's not, and there's something that went wrong, maybe something was inconsistent in your private life where you have to implement a contingency plan, always consider a crisis management plan that helps you to get ahead of this thing quickly, dispel it immediately, and be able to rebrand yourself away from what has happened that caused you to damage it in the first place. It's much like a child. You have to keep it out of danger. You have to raise it. You have to consistently feed it and make sure that it grows up big and strong, or a lot of ulterior or rather dangerous things can happen to your brand.
All right, and so I'm going to pull a mic here, and I'm going to talk about Lee McNutt's question, and I'm going to ask Tyrone. Tyrone, if you can put a link to our to register for our webinar in the chat box for Lee and anyone else. Lee asked, "Can I start AWS without any IT experience?" Richard asked what he meant, and Lee said, "Richard, by meaning starting getting training and get a cert." There's absolutely no experience required for anything at all. Nobody had doctors weren't born with experience.
No,
they had to go through training. Lawyers didn't have experience; they had to go through training. Nobody, you don't have to have experience. So I asked Tyrone to put this link in the chat box for you. We're gonna have a webinar this Thursday. We do it every Thursday about how to get your first cloud job. And it's specifically talking about for those that want to get their first cloud architect job and what they can do. And we specifically talk about without any experience, because truly there's no such thing as no experience.
Right.
You may not have cloud experience. You may not have AWS experience. You may not have tech experience, but you've got experience, Lee. You've been here on this earth. You've been doing stuff. You've got experience. I don't know what it is, but there's experience. Yeah. So I want to invite you to join that webinar so that we can talk more about it. And it's not on YouTube. It's on a platform where we can actually talk and ask questions and come off mute and give you a better idea. So make sure to register for that. I really encourage you to.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's get back to the discussion here. And Alonzo, I want to ask you. So we talked about companies and their brand. So I want to talk about personal branding.
Okay.
Why is personal branding important, and why are we talking about it? Like, what's the point of it? Why
are we man, personal branding. Let's think about, how do you want others to perceive you? And I think it's important because there's a list of factors that come into play. One is differentiation. What makes you different from others? What sets you apart from the slew of other people looking for a job or that opportunity? What makes you different from other people? The second is credibility and trust. Can I trust you? Are you someone that I can rely on? Are you someone that says who they say they are and puts up the due diligence and effort to back that up on a consistent basis? And what's important about your brand is that protecting it, growing it, emphasizing it, increasing it, and making it more relevant, it creates career success. If you're the go-to person that I can rely on, that differentiates you, it creates visibility, it controls who you are, and it sets in motion opportunities for you in the future. And it creates relationships. People are going to hear about you because of your brand, because of your consistency, your integrity, your credibility, your trust factor, and the ability to get things done. And they're going to want to know who you are, because people like to be associated with positive people of power. There's no way around it. People want to know. I want to know that I want to say, I know that guy. I know that girl. I know this professional. I've worked with them. And when, as they say, you blow up and you become that person through your career, through exposure, through you winning the day and saving or making an organization millions of dollars, or being on that team that solved the problem, people want to be associated to, because you're a rock star now, okay? You're that person through your brand, through what you have meticulously and through patience and detail and strategy have concocted, or rather created organically, this presence that people have come to know, whether you're in the room or not. So that's why it's important, why you should cultivate, a positive brand about yourself, because it goes right back to our originally post. It's through that consistent presence of what people know about you or talk about you before or after you get into that room.
So yeah, good stuff there. A quick question.
Shoot.
Are there only good brands?
No, there's bad brands, unfortunately. And sometimes a good brand, sometimes brands go sour like milk and heat. Unfortunately, it's quick, it's bad, and sometimes you may have to kill that brand altogether. There have been brands that have been hurt by their representatives. Unfortunately, an example is Subway. Jared, we won't go there.
Yeah,
That killed
let's
that
talk
brand.
about Enron or WorldCom.
Let's talk about Enron. Let's talk about WorldCom. Let's talk about the company of Bernie Madoff. You think about these type of people where they had created a solid brand of trust, consistency, of good return on investment, and then because of greed, because of whatever, destroy that company totally. People don't realize that a lot of, and to my knowledge, I got to find the resource. Enron is actually still in business. That name is still around. It's destroyed, but through that direction that those officials did to that company about doing a lot of shell gaming with the money, what they've done with it, it destroyed it. And look at the branding associated with it, what they did about the company. And then when the company imploded on the newsreel, you see people upset walking out of the building with boxes.
Now, but I mean, now, like, literally, there was a whole period of time where if you saw the E,
oh yeah,
it
was a scarlet letter. It was terrible. Letter.
Yeah, like, there's the show, and I don't know if it was purposeful, but the show Mr. Robot on USA.
Oh, I didn't get a chance to watch that. I heard it was really good.
You'll pick it up. You'll pick up on it. There's a company called E Corp, and their E is at an angle.
Oh, okay.
It's that straight font, that straight E font, and I'm like, and they call it Evil Corp, and instead of E Corp, and I'm like, my mind immediately goes to Enron. It's not completely the same as Enron, but it's close enough. But my favorite thing, and I know this isn't related to branding, WorldCom. I'm from Mississippi, and WorldCom was headquartered in Mississippi, and of all places, the founder was from Mississippi. It was headquartered in Mississippi, and after all the stuff that went down, the Department of Revenue, aka the state's version of the IRS, now has their headquarters in the former WorldCom headquarters.
That's not a good look.
No, it's purposeful. Like, it's
really
because they took over all their assets. Like they seized all their assets, and because they're the ones that brought WorldCom down, was the Mississippi Department of Revenue, and it seized all their assets and everything, and so now it's like a big statement that they moved their headquarters out of the Capitol and into the
But you know what? Look at it this way, Chris, and it's about what Angelo had mentioned about opinions and perceptions. So when WorldCom was in that building, people associate what happened to WorldCom, but are they associating positivity or the ability or trust or anything else with that building, regardless of who took it over?
Yeah, I think from the Department of Revenue standpoint, I think it's to the victors goes the spoils type.
Yeah, I get that.
That's but
when you think about
the people, and I'm pretty sure the people in Mississippi see it like that's their mindset too.
They probably it's like history is written by the victors.
Exactly. So we're the victors, so we're taking over your.
And I get that, but we can look at it from the internalist perspective. But when it's from someone like me, when I overheard the overall understanding, like they took over the building. So I'm like, okay, people are going to equate a lot of bad things with that building, walking out with boxes again. So, they're going to like, is this going to happen again? What happened to the people that walked out of that building? So on and so forth. Perception over opinion. And these are the things that I'm sure that through their communications department, tried to mitigate that their one doesn't have anything to do with the other. This building is rental property. We're here and we took it over to remind people not to do this, and that we took care of the problem. So, but overall, looking at that brand piece, it's like, okay, what are people talking about? And people outside of Mississippi may not have that perception.
But they don't need to. They don't deal with the Mississippi Department of Revenue.
They don't. And that's one of the things that helped them, because if it was another
who's their audience? I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
That would be, that is pivotal too.
Does the Mississippi Department of Revenue care what the people in Oregon say? No, not at all.
They don't. They do not. And that's one of the saving graces, is that if there was another company that was doing the same thing WorldCom was doing and took over their building, it wouldn't be a good look at all.
And I bet, and fair to say, I bet if it were to happen today, like if that situation with WorldCom were to happen today, they wouldn't do it, because that happened all before the advent of instant media and everything. And as soon as I guarantee you, like if it happened today and word got out that the Mississippi Department of Revenue was going to move into the former WorldCom headquarters, people would be throwing up a storm in 30 seconds.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it would not. It wouldn't work.
It worked for the time, but I don't think it would work again. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. I always like that story of being from Mississippi. And as a Mississippian, I find it funny. It's like they're just standing on the dead carcass of WorldCom. All right. So back to what I was talking about.
Okay.
Brands aren't just good. There are bad brands. So I saw some questions about individuals. We're not going to talk about any individuals here as examples, because I don't want to go that route. I'm perfectly comfortable talking about companies and how bad their brands are. But I'm sure if you think about it momentarily, you can think of people, whether it's famous people or people that nobody except the people in your town know, that have always had a bad brand, or have always had a good brand, or had a good brand that turned bad.
Yeah, I can
think about how easy that last one was. How easy it was to go from that good brand to that bad brand.
Yeah, another example. Let's talk about from the financial institution, Wells Fargo. They were trusted, and then you found out that they had opened, and don't quote me on this, but I know it was in the tens of millions, because they had set an expectation that a lot of these sales personnel that they had to open up these accounts and so forth, they had a quota. So they started opening up tens of millions of fake accounts to try to meet quota. And they did a lot of horrendous stuff that put them in a bad light, not only with the world, but tens of millions of dollars in fines. But, they're still in business and they're still big, but they still have a black eye on them that doesn't seem to go away. And they're still trying to mitigate what had happened years ago and share the positive side of what Wells Fargo can bring to the table. So that's a brand gone bad, but it's still here.
And the reason we're using companies as examples is because we don't want to talk about people. So, but relate that back to the individual, what it takes to protect your brand. It's not easy. It's something that you must always be conscious of. And every single thing that you do is in furtherance of your brand, whether you realize it or not. Everything you do is going to build into the brand. So just, Eric, good comment. There's lots of, it depends. Southwest Airlines, they were the golden child for airlines. They were, and then their antiquated technology caught up with them, and boom. Everything fell apart last year. And so now their brand is tarnished and they're going to have to rebuild. So let's move on from the talking about that. I just wanted to talk about that there's not just good brands, and this is true for the individual as well. So that's why, just circling back to Angela's comment about ignoring what people think of you and their perceptions of you, you can't. You have to take that into account, because if you aren't aware of the brand that you have, you're not going to be able to reach your goals. So
Yeah. And I want to just clarify, it's like me ignoring, when I said ignore, don't absorb that. Don't take it to heart. Don't
yeah,
apply
like
that to your
personally,
everyday. Right. Don't take it
yeah.
personal, but you have to protect your brand at all costs. The moment you see a detractor or someone going against what your brand is, you have to arrest that situation within seconds. Never let it fester, because now again, you, before there was social media, you had word of mouth. You were able to nip it in the bud. But the moment something comes out where they're able to say something negative and it gets out to social media, that's a big problem. So take care of it the moment you understand it, the moment you find out about something against your brand, and take care of that situation quick.
So Alonzo, talk to me about. So let's talk about how to do the brand. What do we do? How do we optimize our brand? How do
How do
we
we optimize our
how
brand?
do we do our brand?
Okay, now what we do is we have to identify our unique value proposition. What's good about you? What can you do that's skillful? What is it about you that people are going to love? What is your skill set? Are you personal? Are you able to cultivate, build, repair relationships quickly? Another thing would be understand your audience. Do you know who you're talking with? Do you know what they're good at, what makes them smile, what they're adverse about? Have you done your recon? Same thing with a hiring manager. Same thing with someone you're doing relationships or building a brand with as a cloud architect. Know who your audience is, their company. What are they looking to do? How are you able to solve their problems? How are you able to do that within a specific time frame? What do you know about the people that you're meeting with? Did you pick the right ground? Maybe that person loves steaks. Go to Fleming's. Maybe that person loves golf. Go and get the golf and green fees for them and be able to give them the best experience possible. These are some of the things about knowing your audience. Above all, let's talk about your online presence. Be professional. How many times have we seen someone do something against their brand? You've been on, I've seen plenty of people be under the influence, and they said something negative to an Uber driver or someone that's doing something food level service and they treated them poorly. Got back to them, they got summarily fired, and next thing you know, their brand is so bad, no one would touch them with a 10-foot pole. So building your brand online presence is key. Maintaining it is even more important. Let's talk about content creation. For those who are our clients, I already posted something about posting about LinkedIn, sharing what you know, sharing who you are as a person. How are you providing value? How are you providing solutions in the IT cloud community? Are you engaged as a thought leader? What are you doing? And if not, why aren't you doing it? How are people going to know how great you are if you don't talk about how great you are from a humble perspective? Don't talk about and brag about, but talk about how you're bringing the community together with your skill set, with your competency, with your knowledge. How are you creating conversations and discussions that are bringing professionals together to create wonderful solutions? Who's spearheading that? You. And you have to make sure you do that on a consistent basis through content creation, through networking, and doing that consistently is key. How are you pipelining what you know so that you can share it with the community and be known as a brand leader, as someone effective? That's through personal growth, through development. Keep learning, because technology, as it continues to grow, and as you already establish what you know, it is you have to continue to grow it. It's a depreciating skill. If you don't stay up on networking, if you don't stay up on BGP, INE BGP, if you're not focused on how it works, what you do with it, why it's so important, and you forget these skills, how can you be a great architect? How can you be good at anything if you don't continue to do personal growth and development? And let's look at the business side: leadership, soft skills, emotional intelligence, dealing with angry or recalcitrant or contrarian vendors or coworkers? How are you working on that? Always assume that you're going to walk into a situation with a challenge. It's not that you're thinking negatively, it's that you're thinking realistically, and you're having a plan to how to meet that situation and come out on top. Excuse me, that's beneficial to everyone around you. Also, monitoring, we just talked about this, monitoring your brand. Always keep a pulse, a finger on the pulse of your brand online, within the office, in the community, with your family, and so forth. Make sure they're all interconnected. Make sure all of them can be, if anyone's familiar with the Venn diagram, all these circles that interconnect, all of them need to come together and focusing on all the best facets of who you are as a professional and as a personal person. And the last thing, live your brand. If you're going to talk about it, you got to be about it. If it goes right back into everything else, focus on what you know. Continue to educate yourself on those specifics that you're proud of, that you want people to know about. You're a leader. You're a positive person. You're an influencer. You are inspirational. Everything that you post is leaving people with a smile on their face, with their chest puffed out, understanding I can do this because I'm always going to this particular person on LinkedIn to give me something inspirational to start my day and end my week just as effectively. So these are a lot of the things that people need to do to optimize their brand, both professionally and personally.
All right. So there's a few things there that I wanted to expand on a little bit, and that's the content creation. So obviously, if you're one of our students in our program, you hear us talk about this a lot. So your brand is what you put out there.
Yes.
So if you're not putting anything out there, then your brand is whatever is filling those voids.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just use LinkedIn, for example. I've got a LinkedIn profile. And I got some work experience listed on there. I've got a sentence about I don't know what they call it, my executive summary. I don't know what LinkedIn actually calls it. I don't have a picture up there. I have my internship, my part-time job from high school in there, but I don't do any posting. Yeah. I'll occasionally share something about some training stuff that I saw that somebody was doing. And so now my LinkedIn feed is me sharing the occasional post about this piece of training that I found insightful. And I don't have a profile picture, and I don't have a muscled up, souped up experience listed on my LinkedIn. What type of brand is that? Is that the type of brand that somebody needs to hire as an architect to solve their business problems or build their solutions? No. Now, you may know everything absolutely necessary to do the job. But how do I know? How does Alonzo know? Yeah. How does the random person that's coming across your profile on LinkedIn know?
Absolutely.
That you have all these things.
You know, Chris, I think brand is a lot like credit. If you don't establish some credit, it's worse than bad credit, because at least people know who you are, what your patterns are. But if you don't exercise your content, if you don't put your name out there consistently, rotationally, it's just like rotational credit, just like monthly. You spend, you pay, you make sure you pay it on time. That builds a reputation of credit and increases your credit score. And the same thing with content. You've got quality content, you've got engaging content that makes people think. It's not about, and it's objective content. It's not something swaying one person or one organization over another, taking sides in an argument, but providing thought-provoking ideas that people can come to you for and discuss. You're giving things that people want to hear, people that they never thought they could understand, or they never considered this facet or this way of thinking. This is what you want to be known as, so that you can be established as the thought leader based on what type of architect or professional you want to be.
Yeah. And I think, and then there's another thing that you put in there, and this kind of goes back to also with the company. I thought about it when you were talking about the companies. Companies have taglines.
Yeah.
Which is essentially, you mentioned, like, what's your personal brand like statement? What are you known for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can ask anybody. I don't know if Chow is still on here. If Chow is still on here, let me see. I think Chow is still here. Chow, if you're still here, put my tagline in the chat box. Or Tyrone can put it in there. You know what my tagline is. You guys pointed it out to me. So, and this is it. I really hope they put it in there. Anybody from our team, anybody from the Go Cloud Careers team, put my tagline in there. And now our students won't know, but my team members will. But if they don't put it in there, I'll explain it in a second. But it's a perfect example of a brand that I didn't realize I had. Like I didn't know that I had this.
Really? Okay. I want to hear this.
Here it is. Here's my tagline. I didn't realize it was a tagline. If you're looking for me, you know where to find me. I would say that in every single meeting, every single.
You know what, Chris? You are absolutely right. That is your ending statement for the meetings. I just realized that.
Yes, I didn't realize this. And this is just a singular, the most singular example that you can get of a brand. This is part of my brand right here. This is how everyone that works at Go Cloud, when you ask anybody at Go Cloud Careers, what's Chris known for, or what's Chris say, or what's Chris like that, even if they don't say this as an answer, I guarantee you this will pop in their head about me. They may not answer it and say, yeah, Chris always says if you think blah, 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 but they think, oh yeah, he says that. They all called me out on it one time. And now I can't end the meeting without saying it because they called me out. And there was one time when they were just like, are you going to say it? Are you going to say it? And that's when I figured out that I said it. But
like, say what? And it just dawned on you.
Yeah. So that's, but you companies have taglines. Yeah. We do too. Like we as people, we as individuals, we have them. But maybe you don't have a tagline, but maybe there's something that everybody agrees about you. Mm-hmm. That's your brand.
Yeah.
And you talk. It's just something that popped in my head as you were talking. So, we talk about the content creation, but you pointed out that the consistency is just as important, and the living your brand. That's something that I mentioned it before. Everything you do is in furtherance of your brand, whether you realize it or not. So there's a couple of questions that have come in the chat box, and I want to take them. Let me scroll back here. Okay, I'm going to get you to check on this. Has Angelo? I'm
sorry, Angelo. I didn't mean to. Has he put the signal out?
Has he accepted your connection yet? It's been
I got to find out, Angelo.
It's been 45 minutes since you said that. So
I think somebody else said something too, Angelo. So we can't put you on. We're not going to put you on plasma, bro. Love it.
Let's see. Where did these questions go? We talked about this earlier, and I think this is a great place to talk about it because you mentioned it as well. Knowing your audience, understanding your audience. how does knowing our audience, but more importantly, knowing ourselves, factor into building our brand?
Yeah. That's a good question, Angelo. That
Yeah.
is really good. I'm going to reverse that in saying, how do you know yourself? Do you know yourself? Because if you don't know enough about yourself, you will unwittingly start projecting things that you never realized. And that is where your audience is going to decide on whether they want to be a part of you or not. So knowing yourself is important. I always do certain exercises. These are some of the things that help me to figure out who I was. And I put together, what do I know how to do? How do I feel about myself? Where do I see myself going? What are my interests? What are the things that make me angry? What are the things that make me unhappy? It helps to project, helps you to frame who you are as a person. And when you get to know who you are, then you want to be associated with a certain type of person. And that certain type of person is who you want to be identified. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I've heard that from one of my favorite followers of people that I follow is Daniel Pena. People may have different feelings about him, but he's a very no nonsense person, but he gives a lot of great wisdom. And so when you know and associate yourself and find out who your audience is or who you want to attract, talk about that. Let's look at that again from the audience perspective. What type of audience are you looking for, or the audience that you are engaged with? I think a lot about when it comes to social media, when it comes to your algorithm, and it's a lot like this. What you look at is what you're going to attract. Okay, so when you think about your communication style, what you seek is what you're going to find in the form of the audience. So if you want professionals to follow you on LinkedIn, then what are you putting out there to get them to become attracted to you? What are you doing that repels them? Just like Chris said, what is your profile looking like? Are you looking like a professional, or are you looking like quite honestly a troll that you would find on social media? You have no picture, you have no information about yourself, and what you share is probably old, antiquated, has nothing to do with who you want to be as a person. Would you reach out to someone that you esteem to be like or be on that level with that type of professional lack of professionalism? It's the same thing like going to an interview with a wrinkled T-shirt with a blown out collar, and you're unkempt and not ready to engage with this person because you are not putting your best foot forward and engaging. And I'm from back in the day when people were handing out business cards. Okay, I'm dating myself, but I don't mind. Your LinkedIn profile is your new business card. It is your representation of who you are when you cannot speak for yourself. What are you saying about your experiences? What are you saying about what you know? What are you saying about where you want to go, who you want to be associated with? Like, say, for instance, my LinkedIn, I have provided a lot of detail about my professional life, my skill set, who I work for, who I'm associated with, what people in my references have said about me. This is my calling card. This is something that I want people to know about. So it all goes back to, what are you projecting and what are you attracting? Is that the audience you want? If it's not, then change what you're putting out there. And that's how you build your brand, is association. If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it must be one. If it's not, then what are you doing wrong? So these are the things that people need to be concerned about on a professional and a personal basis, so that you can be branded the way you want to when you're not in the room.
Yeah, I think there's something. There's a. If any of you are familiar with any of the 12 steps programs that are out there, like AA or Gamblers Anonymous, whatever, there's a lot of 12 steps programs out there. One of the steps in there, and I'm going to give an adapted version of this. One of the steps in there is made a searching and fearless inventory of ourselves.
Hmm.
So how important is it to know yourself? Very, but you need to do it. You need to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You need to have an honest perception of yourself, an honest assessment of yourself, what you truly are.
And you know what, Chris? Even when we talk about it in the program, not only do we ask people to know thyself, but we also do those peer assessments so that we can start reconciling what you think you know about yourself versus what you're projecting to others.
Exactly. So, it's all good and dandy to say you need to know yourself, but you need to make sure you honestly know yourself and have a true representation of yourself.
Yeah.
Not an idealistic representation of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once you've established this baseline of here's this honest assessment of me, here's what I am, then you can have what do I want to become?
Yes.
A lot of people, so many people mix those two together at the same time, and their assessment of themselves as they are now is also how they perceive themselves to want to be. And that's not an honest assessment of yourself. That's not knowing yourself as you truly are. So if you can separate those two, that is going to be a big factor to success, knowing where you truly are right now at this moment, and then where you want to be as two separate things. And then you can figure out how to get there. Because if you don't separate them, then you can't figure out how to get there. I know that doesn't have to do with branding per se, but I just wanted to talk about the knowing yourself, that you got to know where you are now as a separate person from where you want to be so that you can figure out how to get there. Again, so many people, when they're doing that assessment of themselves, they don't separate the two. And if they're not separated, you can't figure out how to get to it. It's like, I can't figure out how to get to Chicago. I'm already in Chicago.
Yeah.
How do I get to Chicago? No, dude, you're in Houston. I promise. You're in Houston. You're not in Chicago. You're in Houston. But so if you know I'm in Houston and I want to be in Chicago, you can figure out how to get there. But if you don't realize where you truly are, then you're not going to know how to get there.
Yeah.
So Alonzo talked at length about it. I'll add a little bit to it about the knowing your audience. If you don't know your audience, then you don't know what you need to message. You don't know what people want.
Yeah.
And as part of this conversation, we're presumably talking to people and for people that are building and developing their brands to achieve something, achieve a career, achieve a job, achieve a promotion, achieve something. So your audience, you can have different audiences, but if you don't know what your audience wants or desires, then you can't tailor your message. Your brand doesn't necessarily change, but your message does, if that makes sense. You can't tailor the message of your brand to that audience. If your brand is trustworthiness and being a trusted advisor, it's the same brand, but you're going to message it a little bit differently to the CEO versus your peers. Your message is going to probably be about 80% the same, but there's going to be a little bit of a difference. So you need to know what your audience desires and wants are. And how are you going to figure that out? You're going to have to get into their mindset. And that's what Alonzo talked a lot about. Where are they getting their information? Where are they hanging out? What are they reading? Are you presenting yourself in the same vein as where they are? You're not gonna show up to the country club in your football jersey for the Sunday football game. You'll show up at the beach club in your football jersey for the Sunday football game, but country club, you'll probably show up in your polo and your khaki shorts and your boat shoes for the football game. So it's the same concepts. You need to know your audience to be able to message your brand appropriately. So that was a good question. But my big thing was the knowing yourself. Like if you
You
don't,
have to.
if you don't know what you truly are, then you don't have a solid starting point. Let's see, questions. Okay, I'm going to save that next question from Angela for later. Igor asked, how to show yourself as a business professional on LinkedIn? Who to follow, or what type of post or article to write? So Igor, we actually added a good bit of content about this into the program, I believe. I'll have to double check, but simply, if you're wanting to position yourself as a business professional, then you're going to want to start to follow business executives. You're going to want to start to follow corporations. I'm just throwing out some random names out at this point. You're going to want to follow Jamie Dimon. You're going to want to follow Richard Branson. Mm-hmm. Jamie Dimon is the president.
Yeah,
CEO,
yeah, CEO of JP Morgan.
He's the top guy at JP Morgan. I don't know what his actual title is. You're going to follow Richard Branson. We know who Richard Branson is. Virgin. You're going to follow Bill Gates. But I'm giving you very top level. You actually get down a few levels. Get into the VPs. Get into directors. Find people at companies and follow them. Also, follow content creators in these spheres. A writer at CIO Magazine. A writer at Tech Target, a writer, follow these people that are creating content. Also follow these entities. Follow JP Morgan Chase. Mm-hmm. Follow Microsoft. Follow Cisco. Follow Deloitte. Follow Accenture. And then over the course of, as you're following them, I would actually arguably start with the companies, and then you'll figure out the people at the companies to start to follow. Because the company will probably start to share their stuff, and you'll see who to follow, but follow them, and then take it a step further and start to comment on their stuff.
Right.
And then take it a step further and repost their stuff with a little bit of context added to it. And then eventually if you know something well enough, write an article about it. So this all goes back to the time thing. It's not all one thing. It's not all one thing at one time. It's a building and cumulative effect. What are your thoughts there, Alonzo?
Couldn't agree more. It's a relationship. You can't. You walk out on the street, you ask someone to marry you, they're going to look at you like you got 6 heads. So I got my wife, God bless her, I got my wife to marry me through consistency, building a relationship. She has seen my best, she's seen my worst. But the thing is that I've been consistent, and I've created a strong brand of trust for her to accept my proposal. Same thing with this. Although it's not so grandiose, if you will, but when it comes to LinkedIn, people, by building that brand, articles, I've laid out an article on LinkedIn. I just sent it out last week about leadership. I like to follow people about cloud architecture, security, networking, Cisco, Palo Alto, Fortinet, Checkpoint, the management consulting firms, McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, Deloitte, E&Y, the list can go on, because I want to be known and associated with people, organizations who are doing great things in cloud architecture. Because not only do I want to be able to be a source of information and thought leadership, I want to know what they're doing. Is what my efforts to be a better cloud architect aligning with what they're doing out in the industry? If not, then why not? If I am, how can I be better? How can I share what I have disseminated from their efforts in the community, articulated in a way that's going to be beneficial to my community? That's how you're going to be able to grab and attract a lot of people you want to be associated with, because it A, creates you as a thought leader, B, showcases your competency, C, creates a perception of your personality, articulate, smart, engaging, friendly, positive, things of that nature. And it circles right back to what I said. I want to be associated with people like that, and that's important. So that's why your professional brand, like we've been saying since we started, make sure your personal aligns with your private. There's not going to be a Jekyll and Hyde. And the difference between Jekyll and Hyde and Superman and Clark Kent is that Jekyll doesn't want Hyde to ever come out. No one, he never wants anyone to see that. Superman and Clark Kent, he wants to hide those benefits so that he keeps people from danger. He doesn't want people to know the good that he's doing. He wants to be able to do that freely. Those are two different contrasts to the same coin. So you being able to showcase your ability on a personal and professional level, make sure it's synonymous. Help around the house with your wife, your spouse, with your community, with your associated groups, your Greek organizations, whatever it may be, so that anyone who knows you and comes across your path, you're consistent on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, there was a question asked by one of our students recently, and it was a great example of how to utilize non-work or non-business things to further your professional brand. And you just kind of touched on that. What are you doing in the community? What are you doing? What maybe you ran a marathon or a half K, or not half K, 5K or half marathon. Marathons are whoa. But maybe you ran a 5K. Maybe you did something, and you can parlay that into the lessons of perseverance and dedication and so on and so forth. Maybe you're doing something good for the community, and you just want to highlight the thing that was done that other people can do for, use all that goes into your brand. Because if you're doing, and Alonzo mentioned this earlier, humility, or well, you mentioned humble, but humility and is the same as humble. To be humble is to have humility. Sorry, that came out. That took a second to get to. But I'm not saying go out there and say, look, I just gave $500 to the charity. Look at me, how great I am. Blah blah blah. No. I'm talking about. I spent the morning with Habitats for Humanity. This is something that I think anyone that has the time or the ability to contribute to should do so, and this is why. Like, what does the community get back from what you've done? What is the good for the community out of your action, and how can others contribute to that? Use these opportunities to do that. So I just wanted to say that it doesn't always have to be business or work related or tech related or anything like that. Your brand is multifaceted, so incorporate those things as part of your brand.
Yeah.
Let's see. As for a follow-up to this, and I haven't seen it, so I'm going to just kind of go off with it. Muhammad says, which is best for branding as a team or an individual? So Mike made a short recently. I know we put it on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure it went on YouTube Shorts. Is that one of the biggest interview mistakes that people make is focusing on I. I. Nobody operates in a vacuum. Nobody succeeds in a vacuum.
No.
Even entrepreneurs don't necessarily succeed all by themselves. So your brand is your brand, but you need to make sure that you don't take complete credit for everything when that is not the case. Now, there's also opportunities for you as a team, whatever your team might be, your department, your group, your project, whatever. In theory, they have a brand too. This department's the worst department ever.
Yeah.
This manager over here leads the worst team out of everybody. So don't necessarily know, and I asked for some clarification, but I don't know which is best for branding as a team or an individual. There's no best, but important. I would say the most important is your brand as an individual because that's the one that you have the most control over.
I would definitely agree. Let's think about, you can't control others, but you can control yourself. You can emphasize and provide solutions. And I think this is really helpful as your own brand, Muhammad, is that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to come across someone whose personality, work ethic, ability to communicate or lack thereof is going to be a total contrast to your expectations, to your work history, and to who you are as a person.
Expectations. Oh, I
Yeah.
can do a whole show on expectations.
Yeah. And one of the things that I learned is A, manage your expectations. B, of other people. All you can do is put your best foot forward and exemplify who you are as a person so that you can give your best for the team. Okay, so focus on you, build who you are, create excellence, create a consistent perception so that they can create trust. And I like trust over expectation, because you have built that character, you have built that line of credit, if you will, of dependability, excellence, the ability to get the job done, the ability to find problems in a project, but also counter what you found as an issue with solutions, because people love those who can solve problems. People love those who can get the job done. Don't tell me about what you found. Have you created a solution for it? And if not, why not? You can call out the negative. Why can't you find the positive? So these are some of the characteristics that you can create as a brand for yourself, so that whatever team that you have, it's a bunch of rock stars, or it can be a bunch of folks who may not have the same level of excellence as you. You're able to find the benefits and maximize strengths within people, mitigate their challenges, and be able to help them build upon themselves by setting examples of how you do business on a regular basis. So focus on yourself. The rest of it can follow. So that can be the focus for you, Muhammad.
I think you just did you just wrote something about no I in team, right?
Yeah.
I think you can probably share the link there in the chat box. I just put the link to your LinkedIn profile in for you, by the way, also. But you can, if you want to put that link to that post, probably a good place to put it out. But yeah, forewarning everybody, I put mine and Alonzo's links in there for LinkedIn. I'm not necessarily the best with LinkedIn. I'm just going to go ahead and forewarn you. So I'm probably about as bad as Angelo on not responding. So there's that. So let's continue going. Kenny had a good question. How much time per week would you put into branding if, for example, you've been working as a cloud architect for 1 to 2 years, starting from scratch? That's a good question.
It's a good question.
That is a very good question, and I'm glad you added that last piece there, because I was going to say, if it was just the first part of the question, it depends, because everyone else is going to want to put depending on your situation, you're going to want to put different amounts of effort and energy into your brand. So in this one, presuming we're starting a brand from scratch, we're building your brand as a cloud architect. You're going to want to dedicate more time to it. You're going to want to you're going to have to find time to dedicate consistently. I would suggest, and this is just me, I would suggest an hour a day or 30 minutes a day, a set period of time And the reason I do this is because if you make it set, then you're more likely to do it. A set time, and 30 minutes or an hour to branding. Now, that doesn't mean going out and posting a bunch of stuff every day for 30 minutes or an hour. That means spending that 30 minutes or an hour a day finding people, finding companies, finding resources to support your brand. You know, who am I going to who do I need to start following today? Who am I following that I need to go see if they put something out that I can comment on? Who am I following? And by who, I also mean what, by companies or person. Who or what am I following that I can go repost and share something insightful? And I say this a lot, that it did by reposting and sharing something insightful. I don't mean you have to go and give me 3 pages like Alonzo did right before this show. I mean, share something insightful about a recent article about the trends about XYZ in the ABC industry. And tie it back to the brand that you want to build. So a lot of it's going to be research and reconnaissance, following the right people, commenting on their stuff, because you don't want to, well, you want to put out stuff for yourself regularly. You don't want to put out too much stuff like a butter churn. Like you got to let stuff breathe for a little bit. But so, you know, daily repost or posting of your own content that you've created. But as much as you want, going and commenting on other people's stuff, appropriate commenting. Like I said, I would, and I'm just trying to be realistic here, 30 minutes or an hour. And part of that time could be, okay, I'm going to write this thing, whatever this thing is. And part of my 30 minutes or an hour every day that I'm dedicating to this is going to, for this week, I'm going to have this thing written by this time frame. And I'm going to take part of that time to put towards that, because that's part of your brand. So that's my suggestion. What are your thoughts there? And again, everyone's going to be different. Maybe it's 2 hours. I don't know. Maybe, but that's my suggestion. Keep it realistic.
Yeah, I think it's not, you know, you want to introduce the world to who you are and what you can bring to the table. Be thoughtful about it, have a strategy about it. But there's 2 things. You need consistency, you need patience.
Yep. And that's that consistency is why I was like, let's keep it realistic. If we can keep it to 30 minutes a day or an hour a day, okay, how hard is it for me to spend 30 minutes a day going and commenting on other people's stuff?
Yeah. Comment, add a quick little inspirational post, add a article about what's going on. Encourage that first line of thread in that particular post. Say something meaningful about what you think about that process. End it with, I welcome anyone's thoughts. This is how you're pretty much you're on the internet, you're on LinkedIn. Consider LinkedIn is this big party and you're working the room. There's a circle of people conversing about different topics. Jump on in, participate, say something meaningful, leave your calling card of thought leadership and positivity, and keep doing that day in and day out. And you don't have to post every day. Do it 2 or 3 times a week. Start off small. Start off with once every other day or once a week, and increase or even better, start thinking about and create a stockpile of information about what are the topics that you want to talk about this week. What are the topics? Do you have answers? Do you have articles? Think about a published article you want to add on LinkedIn. Think about some visuals that you want to use to demonstrate your competency. There's tons of things you can do, but just continue to put your best foot forward and do it consistently. Don't expect a overnight following of 500, 600 followers, but over time, people will start to know you, just like a relationship. I will know this person. Kenya's trustworthy. Kenya is a good team player. Kenya is articulate. Kenya does this. Kenya does that. And I know this to be true because she did it this and time. And all of them are consistent. Whatever I asked her to do, or whatever things that she wanted to share, she did it. She's a person who follows through with what she says she's going to do over time, consistently, with like a heartbeat. You know the next step. You know the next beat is coming. And the same thing with your brand through presenting on a consistent basis.
All right. So even though Mike is not here, I am going to make us stick to our 2-hour time limit, everybody.
Oh,
So,
wow. It's going by fast. I just looked up.
Yeah, I know. I just looked up and it was 7:36. I was like, okay, so got a few more questions, and then I'm going to ask Alonzo to kind of wrap it up and take us home. So Robert asked, if branding is attached to your current job role, for example, IT manager, how do you go about changing that brand to something more cloud oriented?
Interesting. Nice. Okay. So an IT manager, that's leadership. And that's the expectation that you are effectively steering that boat in your department. You're asking everyone, or rather, you're inspiring your team members to do what needs to be done. And you want them to be happy working under you. You're providing this environment of support, positivity, innovation, great leadership, leading from the back, pushing everyone forward to strengthen showcase their strengths. You're helping them strengthen their weaknesses. And when things go great, you give the accolades to the team. If things don't go so great, you're taking the brunt of all the criticism and negativity. Showcase them into something that's more cloud oriented. You're a leader. Repackage that for the cloud. Talk about how leadership is important when you're executing cloud projects. Talk about how leadership is important when you need to delegate tasks, and be able to provide subsequent articles about that, so that it's less about you being an IT manager and it's more about you being in the cloud and leveraging the environment of what cloud architects do, or whatever professional role that you want to be a part of. And everything that we mentioned previously: consistency, syncing up with people you want to be associated with, syncing up with people that have the job title that you want to have, or companies that you endeavor to work for, or have respect for. These are the ways that you're going to be able to shift your brand over. Now, when it comes to being in your current role, it's also important to make sure that what you post does not give the impression that you're trying to move somewhere else. You don't want to telegraph your moves, but you want to be engaging and show your competency in the skill sets that you want to be a part of. So you have to do this thoughtfully, strategically. You have to be consistent in it, but you also have to make sure that you're not saying anything that gives the impression that you want to go somewhere else, because we don't want you to endanger your livelihood at your current job.
Yeah, I think that the thing here is, and I don't want to be cliche, but a job title is just a job title. So yes, that's what you're doing, but take the opportunity to attend conferences or attend networking events for people in roles that you want to do. Obviously, these would be on your personal time. Take the opportunity to comment, repost, or whatever the case might be about cloud-related topics. Not so flagrantly that your current employer might be like, well, what's going on here? But just peppering it in there, so to speak. Now, if you're not doing anything else with your social media and LinkedIn, then this will be a red flag. So if you're not doing anything, then you need to start doing some things related to your current role, so that when you start to put out those cloud things, it's not this big red flag that, okay, they started putting out cloud stuff. Why are they putting out cloud stuff? He doesn't have anything to do with cloud. And I don't know your situation specifically. I don't know anything about your situation, but I'm just making assumptions here with this answer. If you've got an active social media presence already, start peppering things in there about where you want to be. Not saying I want to do this, but like this is I found this interesting, and and then adding your thoughts about it. If you don't already have an active presence, then you have to include stuff about your current job and your current sphere of influence, so that when you do start to pepper in things about where you want to be, it doesn't seem like a red flag. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Ease into it. Just don't just put your toe in the proverbial pool. Don't go deep in, on the deep end with it. So
I'm gonna buzz you. We gotta move. We gotta
keep moving. Okay, Chris. I will adhere to the rules.
All right. All right. So Igor says, what to write about to not be repetitive, or is it good to write about the same stuff as other people? Can we write about single points of failure in multi-cloud, or already everyone said it, everything? Well, nobody said it the way that you have.
Exactly. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Like, you're never going to write something the same as everyone else. Now, and there's a follow-up to this. It's not from Igor, but it's in this same vein. I want to put it up here. James T. When it comes to creating content, how do you go about creating the news instead of reporting the news? These two questions kind of go hand in hand. That's why I brought them up. So we can't give these the time and space that they need right now to give a great answer. But I'm pretty sure if it's the James T that I think it is, and I know this is the Igor that I think it is, we can make sure to talk about this in class. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it before, and I'm pretty sure it's in the recordings by topic. But it might be buried. We talk about it quite a lot. But you have to add your spin, your flair, your touch to it. And write it and you have to write it in a way that benefits. What's the purpose for the business? The majority of stuff that's out there about single points of failure or load balancers or firewalls, the majority of it out there is not written from the business's perspective.
Yeah.
So that's an opportunity for you to do what we're talking about here. So it's kind of like music. Every note and every chord that's ever been and ever will be has already been played and has already been put together the same way. There's not ever going to be any new ways but it's the way there's not going to be any new chords. There's not going to be any new things. It's the way that they're put together that changes and makes it different. So it's good. So the way that you write it and the way that you put together the content is what's going to make it different. And that's what's going to make it making the news versus reporting the news.
Yeah.
Let's see. I want to make sure I'm. Here you go. That's for you.
already reached out to you via Slack, Richard.
All right. So I asked people to share with us let us know what brand means to you. We got a few answers.
Okay.
So Kevin says, branding to me is rooted on your central ethos of who you are, based on your actions and not just your words. The output is agnostic. whether professionally or personal? Are you a trusted advisor? Interesting.
I like that.
I like that. I don't know if the output is agnostic.
Yeah, that it all depends on the scenario, and there's no cookie cutter
Yeah.
execution or expectation or outcome that's all encompassing.
I think the result is specific, and the way that you message that result can be dynamic. The result of your brand is very specific, and the result of everything that you've done is very specific. But the way that you message it can be dependent on your situation.
Yeah. What's the
So
outcome?
I guess that would be some I guess that could be agnostic in a way that you're met depending. But I was getting too specific with the word agnostic there. Yeah, but other than that point, I like that.
Yeah. Can you be a trusted advisor? Can people depend on you at work? Can people depend on you when they need something? A family member, a friend, an associate, someone that you, a team member from a sports team or at work.
Yeah. All right. So I think I got all the questions. I'm going to go back to one that Angelo asked earlier that I want to make sure I get to. Got to find it. It's way up here. Wow. Where's Mike when we need him?
How does having a good brand increase our ability to genuinely and ethically influence others? 2 words: consistency and trust. You continue to be trustworthy. You continue to do it all the time, then you're going to be someone I'm going to want to listen to, because whatever you do, whatever you believe, I'm going to believe. I'm going to at least give it some consideration, because you have created a sphere of trust through consistency. You have not deviated from this stand of quality, of assurance, of objectivity, of agnosticism on how you feel about things. How you feel is irrelevant. You're just showcasing what you found and providing thought processes about how you arrive to this expectation. It is through empirical research you've done it. You have never not once swayed anyone on one side or the other. You have not put one cloud service provider over another. You have not said this one is not good versus this one is great. Being a trusted advisor through consistency and trust.
So I want to wrap it up, and I'm going to share some unfiltered comments here. So branding, and this is something that a lot of people overlook. And I talked about this earlier, that people aren't doing it. And if you're not doing it, then you're opening yourself up for your brand being whatever other people put on you. So if you're not doing anything to further your brand, then you're hurting your brand, because there's nothing worse than having everyone else projecting onto you what they think you are.
Yeah.
You have the ability to put out into the world what you are, who you are, and how you are that. That is completely up to you. Now, again, this is not something that is going to be immediate, especially if it's something that's been neglected. This is something that's going to take time. It's going to take effort. And Alonzo has said it a lot tonight. Consistency is going to take consistency. You could put together all the pieces of having the right brand. Just like I could put together, design, build, and construct the best house ever, absolutely ever. But I never move into it. I never pay attention to it. I never have anyone else pay attention to it. And it just sits there.
Yeah.
it will be in shambles in just a few years. Just pure shambles. People will have overrun it. They will have moved in and done what they want with it.
Yeah. That is a good analogy, Chris.
This is exactly what can happen with your brand. If you're not doing anything for your brand, that's exactly what will happen. Everyone else will make you what you are. So that's why we're talking about this. And why are we talking about this? I'm talking about we've been talking about the why for the why you need, like, for the immediate thing of building your brand. But why, in the big picture of things, why does it matter? Because it can get you paid more. It can get you paid more. It can help you get that job that you desire. It can help open doors for you. It can help other people through you. Maybe you're not looking to make more money. Maybe you're not looking to change careers, but maybe you've built a brand that you can parlay into helping others, whatever their situation might be. Because what Alonzo just talked about with Angelo's question about how can the brand, what was it? How does having a good brand increase your ability to genuinely and ethically influence others? Maybe you're not looking for a career change. Maybe you're not looking to earn more money, but maybe you're looking to influence others to help these people over here, or to help this person in this endeavor, or to help this company with this, or to do X, Y, Z. Your brand can help further these things. So not only can it benefit you, but it can benefit those around you.
Yeah, and let's look at this as well, Chris. Your brand and your reputation. You know, your brand is what you put out. Your reputation is what people think of you. So make sure you control both of them so that you can, like you said, Chris, you don't have to be looking for a job, but you do want to command a expectation, or rather a sphere of influence based off of what you project to people. So you have to be in command of that. You have to monitor. You steer your car, captains steer the ship. They just don't let it go willy-nilly, because it crashes, stuff happens. So it's the same thing with your brand. Make sure you're taking care of it. It's your child. It's what's coming out of you. It's what you want to project, and you have to be in control of that on a daily basis.
Yeah. So before I get you to throw in your last words here, because those were my last words. My last words were what's going to happen if you don't do it.
Yeah.
So Steve asked a good question here. How do you monitor your brand? If you could maybe succinctly give us some tips on monitoring your brand.
Monitor whatever you're projecting to people. Make sure it's consistent. Make sure it's verifiable. Make sure it's honest. Make sure that it's, like I said, consistent. But with that monitoring, if you're putting something out there, if you want the attention, then make sure you're reciprocated. Like case in point with LinkedIn. If you want followers, then respond to what people say. If you want to engage with people, then put up something that is not incendiary. Don't put some person down for the sake of likes, for the sake of attention. These are just, common sense things, but monitoring requires a day-to-day response of what you want people to know. What about
Would a
that?
better word be maintain? Maybe.
I would say they both go hand in hand, because you have to monitor so you can maintain.
Right.
So
Because when I think monitor, I'm over here with binoculars looking across the street to see what the neighbors are doing.
well, think about it this way. When you monitor, you want to see how your words, how your social media presence is affecting others by monitoring. Maintaining that is great. If you have to steer clear or adjust your trajectory and what you're saying, that's how you're able to maintain. So you have to look at the overall approach. Is it working? If so, great. How can I increase that presence? If not, what do I need to change? If I'm tooling,
Okay, so I put something out there. How does it respond? What's the response to this? Okay, maybe I don't do any more of that.
Right.
Oh, it's great. Maybe I do more of this. Right?
Yes.
Okay. That type of monitor. So monitor and maintain. I think we can go with M&Ms here. And I like that. All right. Then we got, this will be our last one, and I'll ask you for closing words. This is a perfect example. If your brand is strong and someone accuses you of something, it can help your defense as well. Does that really sound like something I would do? Well,
Yeah.
if you don't have a brand, nobody can say one way or another. So they're going to say, well, I don't know. But if you do have a brand and you have a brand that counters whatever someone says about you,
yeah,
boom. But if your brand doesn't support it, like Enron, everybody's like, well, you know what? It was always kind of fishy to get answers out of them. They were kind of, yeah. For the past couple of years, they weren't really open and forthcoming. Everything seemed a little weird. You're right. Let's dig in a little bit. So absolutely, good point there. That is a benefit of a brand, of having a brand and monitoring and maintaining your brand.
Absolutely. And I say in class for our clients, if cash is king, then documentation is queen, in the form of your consistency. There's proof that you've done and said X, Y, and Z. Where did I say in this? Because if people are going to say untrue things, then show me that documentation. I did this at this time on this thread talking about this. I engaged with X, Y, and Z. You said I engaged with Y. I don't see any of this here. So these are the things that substantiate you being a trusted advisor, because you're speaking agnostically, objectively, consistently, and truthfully. What you say reflects in who you are, your brand, and your reputation.
All right, Alonzo, I'm going to let you wrap it up with us. One last question for you, and this one's from me. And you can wrap it up on this or do whatever you'd like before I cut you off. What does branding do for your professional career?
What doesn't it do? All the things that we talked about are building blocks to project you to the places you want to be, in the circles you want to be associated with. Consistency, objectivity, thought leadership, leaving things better than how you found it. And doing all these things build you into the person that you want to be. Now, couple that with your work ethic. Couple that with people who are experienced in knowing who you are, how you operate, and the same thing that's projected in both your professional and personal arenas. These are the things that project you to higher heights, because people say, for instance, there's a team issue. You're the go-to person. You follow through and you keep being that star performer every day. People want to be surrounded by that. Like we mentioned, you want to be surrounded by the rock stars. And if there's an issue at work or they want to keep you there, they're going to give you everything you want to know, or they want to share with you, i.e. incentive, stock options, promotions, and so forth, because they want you here. They don't want you anywhere else. They definitely don't want you working for competitors. So that is how you're going to be able to use your brand from a professional standpoint, because what you say and what you do and how you project yourself is going to push you further and further up that pipeline to those heights of C-suite leadership, because we teach executive presence, because you're an executive and you're going to be more of an executive up the food chain. So ensure, look at these videos, look at this, what we shared over the last two hours. Review this. And for our clients and our students who work with us, I have a far more detailed bullet points of what we've shared today and how it's going to be helpful for you. So I don't want to get buzzed. I'm going to share and stop what I'm doing right now. Thank you so much. It has been an honor working with everyone, sharing what I've done over my prior and current career right now. And I hope everyone is able to leverage, strengthen their brand, monitor, maintain it, and take it to heights that you never thought possible.
All right. Thank you, Alonzo. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I know Mike missed seeing all of you, and we'll make sure to let him know that he was missed by all of you. So, again, thank you all for joining. One last time, make sure to get your free interview guide. Tyrone's just put the link there in the chat box. It's a completely free resource to help you in what you need to know to prepare for any upcoming interviews. Don't be like everybody else.
No.
And don't prepare for the interview. That is the worst mistake that anyone can make. And we see it over and over again. We want you to prepare for the interview. Just like we told Kenya that she need, in response to her question about how much time she needs to be prepared working on her brand, you need to be doing just as much time preparing for the interview. Even if you don't have an interview, prepare for the interview, because it can make a world of difference. Also, get the free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job guide, another completely free resource for you. Tyrone will put that link there in the chat box as well. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. I've enjoyed this, even though Mike wasn't with us. Right. I enjoyed this discussion with Alonzo, and appreciated his insights and appreciated everybody's questions. Thank you all for making this fun and exciting. We will see all of you next week. And if you're one of our student clients, make sure you're working hard on those projects. I look forward to seeing those presentations next week. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Take care. Take care, everyone.